Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Shooting for the Stars Podcast with your one and only host, Cameron Williams. And today, in today's video, I'll be getting into a conversation about just giving early predictions about the top NFL teams in my prediction. In this video today, I'm going to be ranking, giving y'all my list and why I believe these teams right here can be serious contenders, or if not contenders, definitely playoff teams this upcoming season. This upcoming season for the NFL. And first team I want to start off, we all know obviously right now is obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, the back-to-back champions, the world champions, and the Chiefs. Like I said, as we all know, no, they do not have the best roster. And what I really want to make this video for, I want to get into the, roster construction. As we're looking at the moves and the transactions that are getting made around our league today and that we're seeing around the NFL, ask ourselves, all these teams right now, let's keep in mind right now, these are the back-to-back defending champions. All these teams, they're signing these big-time players. You got the Ravens adding Derrick Henry over there. The Houston Texans bringing in Stephon Diggs. We're forming these powerhouses. These teams are forming these powerhouses to take down the Chiefs. It's bigger than just the division. It's bigger than just the AFC. Week after week, I'm going to be talking about how the Ravens week one matchup, how they match up against the Chiefs week one opening night on Thursday. It comes September, and I'm going to be getting into all that. And when you look at these teams, they're designing these teams to beat the best at this point, especially when you won 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL, the best player in the NFL, it's not even close. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL, and it's not even close. He's not really statistically coming off his best season. But one thing I will say, when it came to the postseason, he prevailed. He got him through. I mean, keep in mind, when they played Baltimore in the AFC Championship game, that wasn't no crazy offensive game. That wasn't like the Buffalo game and that crazy division round game. We seen Buffalo and Kansas City going, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes going tack for tack, touchdown for touchdown. They won 17-10. It was a dirty, it was a boring, it was a defensive, it was a grind out game. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes, he finds ways to win. And when you're the best, you find ways to win. And we also have the best coach, in my opinion. It makes life smoother too. You got the best quarterback by far, got the best coach by far, and still, even though creeping up on 35 years of age, Travis Kelce, still the best tight end, in my opinion. By far, and it's really not even close to who the second is, in my opinion. That would be George Kittle. So you got the Chiefs. We're not going to talk about them. We all know they are going to be the team to be every year, as long as they have that guy at the helm. The Cincinnati Bengals, a team who I really like this year, who I don't think is getting enough credit, is Cincinnati. With Joe, they didn't have their best season last year, but granted, I will say, when Joe Burrow was out, they did a really good job last year still finding ways to win games with Jake Browning at the helm. They did a really good job to continuing the way he kept them afloat. It wasn't Joe Burrow, but, it didn't have to be. Zach Taylor did a great job as an offensive-minded head coach, tailoring an offense to his likings, to what makes him comfortable, that fits his schemes, that fits his strengths and his weaknesses and all that good stuff. And now you bring back Joe Burrow, and we all know, many of us will say, we know to see the tweets out and stuff like that. Joe Burrow is the biggest threat to Patrick Mahomes. He is Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite, and we pair that with Jamar Chase. We know T. Higgins just got this new contract. It's gonna be awfully scary to see how far they can go. And like I said, as long as Cincinnati can stay healthy, you can't rule them out. You can't rule them out, because I believe Joe Burrow is just that good enough. Like I say, I believe he could be the next version of Tom Brady. Seriously, just mobile. Just can move and don't have to be a statue quarterback. He can move around. He can scramble. He can make plays. He don't mind. But it's just about his durability and can he stay healthy through a duration of a season. We know Zach Taylor as an offensive-minded head coach is proven. We know that. That's no question. It's just about, can they stay healthy? That's all it's about. And my next team, I want to switch over to the NFC now. And as we all know, and the reason why I'm saying this, I do think this team is going to dip down a little bit. And I'm going to be talking about later in this video how a team in their division can sneaky rise up, can take a sneaky leap to the top, and probably give them a run for their money in the division, which the Arizona Cardinals. But the San Francisco 49ers, you still got to keep them in the play. You still got to respect San Francisco. First of all, Kyle Shanahan being the head coach is more than enough. I mean, he's an offensive somebody that grew. They have 7 Pro Bowlers, might be down to 6, well, 8, well 7 Pro Bowlers, not including Nick Bosa. But they might be in the losing ones. We all know with the reports that came out, Brandon Ayuk says he wants out. Brandon Ayuk, and honestly, I want to talk about this real quick. As we all know, San Francisco, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, was the last pick literally in the 2022 NFL draft, and honestly, Kyle Shanahan took that kid and made him into a household name now. Played in the Super Bowl literally in his second year. Unbelievable. I mean, his first victory came up against Tom Brady. Blew out Tom Brady. Literally his first game. Crazy. I mean, crazy story he's having right now. Then along that, you got CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Most would say the engine that makes this car go for San Francisco, and especially this offense. I'll tell you that now. You got Nick Bosa, you got Fred Warner on the defensive side of the ball, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. A lot of talent around, but they still got beat by Kansas City. And that's what we talk about when we talk about these teams, y'all. When we talk about the construction of these teams, you don't have to have the best. You don't have to be the most talented team. You don't have to have the most talent in the world, but it's about, when it comes down to, is your team camaraderie. And I preach about it time and time again on this podcast. I always say that's what makes the team. That's what defines wins and losses. It's not always going to be about the talent. That's what I've been discussing at the Switch Worlds. But what's going on in our NBA, and as stacked as our country is right now with LeBron James, Kevin Durant, who was yet to play yet, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, and so forth and so on. It's going to be about, they still have to learn how to play together, because when you look at these teams overseas, that's going to be the difference. That's why we got beaten the last 2 years, because the teams over that we played against, they've had better team continuity than we have, and that's what it's going to be about when you're looking at. And that's what it's been about when we watched last year's Super Bowl. Not so much about the talent. San Francisco, no doubt about it, is the best team on paper, but the Chiefs have the best player. They have the best quarterback at the most important position. So one could argue that weigh that out. Does that go up more than that? But when you have that on your team, and it definitely, and plus when your players on your team know each other, it makes it a lot easier. And I want to ask y'all too, who are y'all teams? Who are y'all picking to be playing or representing in both conferences this upcoming NFL season? Who are some teams to go watch out for? Who are some teams to go from worst to best? Because I'm going to be getting into that too. I'm going to be getting a deep dive in that too. So I like San Francisco, but I do believe they're going to start asking some questions. What can they get in return in a haul for Brandon Ayuk? And all I'm going to say is right now, if Brandon Ayuk goes to the Steelers, it's going to be over. Whoever the quarterback is between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, who I expect to be Russell Wilson, it should be Russell Wilson. But yeah, it's gonna be over. Pair him up with Mike Tomlin, give him to Arthur Smith. You already have George Pickens. You have Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Yeah, at the running back position, you got that double-headed monster. You have a solid offensive line, and you got 2 quarterbacks. Whoever they figure out, whoever wins the job between, like again, I say Russ and Justin. You have 2 quarterbacks who I believe is a slightly above average. You have a veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson who could play, and you have Justin Fields, a young up-and-coming Justin Fields, who proved, rightfully so, he could have been the starter. Bears could have gave him a contract and brought him back to Chicago. They ultimately didn't want it to. They wanted to move, go their separate ways, and they ultimately drafted Caleb Williams, which is, one can see who's going to be right the other day. But if I'm Justin Fields right now, you have a new start, and if you can get Brandon Ayuk, like I said, that's gonna be a video for another day. But yeah, that's definitely the number one team. I definitely can see Ayuk going, the San Francisco 49ers star wide receiver, because they're the team in the mix, with Mike Tomlin, the lookalike and all that kind of stuff. So that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be something to keep our eyes on within the coming days. But I like San Francisco, another team too. Even though they did lose a key guy, the tush push, Jason Kelce, due to retirement, the brother of Travis Kelce, the Eagles, still a team we got to respect. They have Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts really played his best this year. I think he got a reality check, thinking that it's because you reached the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 57 one year, you thought it was going to come easy. No, nothing in this league come easy. This is the National Football League, baby. Each year, it gets tougher and tougher, But I still respect Philly. I like Nick Sirianni. I do feel like it was a little bit of a dip in some of the plays in the offense and defense with the loss of both Jonathan Gannon, head coach who is now head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, who's a defensive coordinator, and Shane Steichen, who is now the head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, who was offensive coordinator underneath Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, when they during their Super Bowl year run in 2022 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57. But nevertheless, you re-signed A.J. Brown, you brought back Devontae Smith, you brought in Saquon Barkley, finally got him over from New York. Many didn't know if he was going to leave or not. Would he stay or would he go? He's finally gone, and now he has a new fresh start here now with, I believe, a great offensive line still, even with the departure of the best piece in Jason Kelsey. You have a good quarterback. You have an elite quarterback in Jalen Hurts. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to just to be about, redo your wrongs from a year ago and get back to championship football. And of course, teams that were upcoming, that were on the horizon, who nobody expected. Now, don't get me wrong, one team I definitely have coming down is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, I definitely think that when you overhaul, when you get rid of Tre'Davious White, when you let go of Micah Hyde and company, and Stephon Diggs and all those guys, like I said, it definitely shows that, you're definitely rebuilding, and you're rebuilding around Josh Allen. And why? Because the new cap is insane. I mean, it's insane. When you're paying a quarterback a ton of money, you got to dumb the roster down. That's why Kansas City doesn't have a boatload of talent. I mean, even though they did add their speech during Hollywood Brown. But that's never here or there. But I definitely got the Houston Texans picking up where they left off. And now you have Joe Mixon. You have Stephon Diggs. You have Damian Pierce. You have Nico Collins. You have Tank Dell's coming off an injury, who also I believe would have been a 1,000-yard receiver alongside Nico Collins if he would have stayed healthy and not have gotten injured against Denver. But that's neither here or there. And a young gunslinger in C.J. Stroud. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, he's only set to get better. Keep in mind, C.J. Stroud is only set to get better. He had a phenomenal rookie year, winning Rookie of the Year. On the other side of the ball, Will Henderson, don't forget about him. And I believe D'Amico Ryan's taking that next leap as a head coach, which is more than important enough, which is so important for a franchise. I believe he's going to get better too. They lead this team to the divisional round in year one. Unbelievable. And Bobby Sloak, y'all know how I feel about him as an offensive guru over there in Houston, coaching our team. So like I said, you definitely got to keep an eye out for Houston. This is going to be a dangerous team. And now some teams who I believe are going to be some shockers. Now some teams who I don't think who I believe we're kind of sleeping on, as far as, and I'm not saying these guys are going to be contenders, but could they? And if not contenders, we definitely got to talk about them being in the realms of being playoff teams. We definitely have to discuss that. The first team I want to start off with, the Atlanta Falcons. God dang it, the last 3 years with Arthur Smith as their head coach, they went 7-10. Now that he's gone, now they have who I believe is going to be a competent head coach, bringing over Raheem Morris, former defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, and I love his scheme. I believe his scheme and what he's brings is going to bring out a lot. It's going to bring out a lot of good for this defense, and that's one thing that the Atlanta Falcons defense, with a bunch of young guys, a bunch of young studs, does need. They need somebody who can kind of relate to them, who brings in a variety of skill set, who's open and willing to talk and get to know his guys. Raheem Morris was a great. Jalen Ramsey said it best. Raheem Morris is a great dude. He's an even better person, even better man. He takes to get to know every single guy in his locker room. Doesn't matter, not just the defensive guys, the offensive guys too. And along with him, he brought over also his buddy who he worked with the Rams on the offensive side of the ball, who was the former offensive assistant for the Rams, and Zach Robinson, who I believe is going to bring just enough of the Sean McVay scheme to complement Kirk Cousins. What does Kirk Cousins like to do, especially at this stage of his career? Sit, drop back, play action. And then then add that along to go along with that play action game, what I believe is going to be that West Coast zone offense. I know it's going to be that West Coast zone offense to go along with that. You have guys who can really complement that, and Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson, guys who I love. And don't forget, I also love Darnell Mooney too, a complimentary piece to go alongside Drake London, and also a speedster at the kick returner, who they also added, in Austin. So like I said, when you have these guys, man, I think it's gonna be a really good team, and I believe Kirk Cousins. The question is gonna be, Kirk Cousins coming off of an Achilles injury. We all know the Minnesota Vikings moved off from him, and for the rookie J.J. McCarthy, it's really gonna ultimately come down to, okay, Kirk Cousins, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. What can you bring? What can you get us over the hump? We got you all the pieces here. We plugged you into place. Can you get us over the hump? Because y'all, let me tell you something about the Falcons division. You guys, the Falcons division is not that hard. When I look at the NFC South has not done really much of really anything, y'all, if we're being honest about it, to really better to really better it, and to really better their franchise, their respective franchises. When you look at the New Orleans Saints, think about New Orleans. Think about the New Orleans Saints. They haven't really done nothing. I believe Dennis Allen's on his way to be one of the worst coaches out of all active remaining coaches in the NFL, out of all 32 of them. No disrespect to Dennis Allen. I'm just calling it like I see it. I mean, I don't think Derek Carr's an all-world talent. I think that was all but proven. We don't know what kind of Mike. We don't know what's going to happen with Michael Thomas or what Michael Thomas nor you are getting. And then when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're just running it back with the exact same roster. I mean, Baker Mayfield did one heck of a job, but I mean, come on now. I mean, you didn't get to the Super Bowl, so obviously there's something you're missing. I mean, it's almost kind of like the Los Angeles Lakers. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And when I look at the when I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's all they did. I mean, Mike Evans is only getting older. I mean, soon the decline is going to be real. It's going to start playing itself into effect. So you got to be prepared for that. And they're not. They haven't done absolutely anything to better themselves. And then the Carolina Panthers, yes, they do. Yes, Bryce Young does have a new set of toys to play around with Deontay Johnson, and they drafted a nice rookie out of Arizona, and Leggett. But one thing about it, I will say, and you still have Adam Thielen now, who now role can diminish now. He was a number one receiver at this point of his career. Adam Thielen has no business being a number one receiver. But the Panthers team, this is the Panthers team that still has a lot of work to do. I still don't look at the Panthers as being no legitimate force to be reckoned with to really start competing to be a postseason team. I just don't, not yet. And Bryce Young is still, I believe, is not going to have too much of a different season than when he had his rookie year. Because what about the offensive line? What about the defense? I mean, there's still so many questions. So when I look at the Falcons, on paper at least, they by far look like the best team in the NFC South. And then the second team, and this is a team I know everybody's going to be surprised about. It's going to be like, okay, it's going to be a shocker. What do you mean? And yes, they are a shocker because they have not done nothing as a play. They haven't done it with Brandon Staley. They haven't done it with Brandon Staley being there. I'll tell you that much. They haven't done it with Brandon Staley. And one team I'm definitely going to be looking at, and I think it's definitely going to take a tremendous leap. A tremendous leap this year, y'all. Hear me out when I say a tremendous leap. The Los Angeles Chargers. And the Los Angeles Chargers is one of those teams that I'm hard to call a sleeper on, even though they do have the weakest fan base in the NFL, granted. But I think that is soon bound to change with the addition of a world national champion at the college football level, Jim Harbaugh. You know, a fantastic coach, a real winner, a guy who knows how to win, and a guy who knows how to lead a locker room. Let's just start off with that. I mean, the Chargers are going to be one of those teams, and yes, they didn't have a good season. They finished up 4-13 last year. Brandon Staley was shortly fired mid-season, didn't finish out the season as the Chargers head coach after spending the last 3 seasons being the head coach in there. Only led them to the playoffs one time, and that one time they were eliminated in 2020. No, 2022. They made it 2 times. They went the year before last, and when they played against Jacksonville, when Jacksonville had that horrible comeback in the first half, it was horrible. And then when 2020, when they faced off against the Baltimore Ravens, when Lamar Jackson was in Lamar Jackson's first MVP season, he had those are the only 2, and all of them reigned and lost. 2 times the Los Angeles Chargers made the playoffs was in the first round. That's the farthest they've went, was the first round. Absolutely cannot happen. And now they have a new general, a new chief in town, and his name is Jim Harbaugh. And now you add Greg Roman, who was the offensive coordinator, who's one of the best who has one of the best run game schemes in our game today as far as at the offensive side of the ball. You steal him over from Baltimore. And I'm gonna tell you something right now, y'all, with the Los Angeles Chargers. You already have your all-world quarterback in Justin Herbert. Heck, God dog it, that was a big reason why Jim Harbaugh came out of college to come back to the NFL. And I want to get into some credentials for Jim Harbaugh real quick. Guys, the dude is a champion. The dude's won 70% of his NFL games as a NFL head coach. He's went to a Super Bowl, ironically lost against his brother when the lights simultaneously went out. But that's neither here or there. When he was with the San Francisco 49ers. And then the dude had success in college. He's a big part of J.J. McCarthy, the rookie quarterback who you'll be watching in Minnesota. He's a big part of that. And the dude's a national champion. He just won a national championship at the college level. I mean, this is a real. I mean, I don't even want to call this dude an offensive guru. He's an NFL coach. You know how guys say, I'm not a basketball player. I'm not a basketball player. I'm an athlete. You know, that's what he is. I don't want to call him an offensive guru. I want to call him just a great overall head coach. I mean, seriously, this dude. And when you look at the Los Angeles Chargers, first of all, who they have to contend with in their division. I mean, the Broncos and Raiders. Just go ahead and count them out. The AFC West, which we once thought was tough, is now honestly just came down to one team, and that one team is going to rule it. Is the 2-time back-to-back champs in the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs is the only team who I see who the Chargers really have to contend with. And I know they did take some horrible losses. Yes, they did lose Keenan Allen. Yes, they did lose Austin Eckler. Yes, they did lose Max. Yes, they did lose Mike Williams. Yes, they did lose Corey Linsley. But when I look at the additions that they quickly soon added, that's going to go. And I guess they have to cut a lot of stars. They have to dumb down a lot of guys, y'all, to fit what Jim Harbaugh likes to do. And y'all are soon going to be thankful for it. You brought in Gus Edwards. You brought in Jake Dobbins. You brought in Isaiah Spiller. Guys who can really formidably place the loss of Austin Eckler. And I'm going to tell y'all something right now. This is going to be a balanced attack. This is going to be a balanced attack. It's not going to be a whole bunch of passes. It's not going to be a whole bunch of run. It's going to be a balanced attack because when you have a guy like Justin Herbert, yes, you want to capitalize on what he can do and how he can make plays with his arm, so you don't fully just want to take it out of his hands. But Jim Harbaugh's going to come up with the right blend, to still bring in a tough run game. And one thing that Jim Harbaugh's going to do, and I'm going to tell y'all something right now, he's going to get these guys mentally tough. He's going to get these guys mentally tough every Sunday or every Thursday or every Monday night to come out and put in us. Look, even though we might not be the most talented team, we're going to be the most connected team. Because there's a good saying, you guys, you don't have to be the most talented team. You have to be the most connected team. And I'm telling you, when you have that installed in a team, and when you have a guy like that as your leader who can get the most and knows how to get the most, and it can get guys to see a cause bigger than themselves, that is scary as a franchise. And that's what Jim Harbaugh as a head coach has the ability to do. Make no mistake about it. And I mean make no mistake about it. I mean, the dude is a winner. He can instill that championship mindset. He can instill the mindset of literally of if we work hard, if we come with the right mindset and we come with the right work ethic Monday through Saturday every week, greatness is in store. A championship is soon to be prone to us. That's the kind of mindset he installs. And if you don't believe me, ask Michael Lombardi.
He's won 70% of his games as an NFL coach, right? He's won a national championship. He took the 49ers to a Super Bowl. He's never really experienced any downfall. He can get people to follow him. He can get people to buy into a cause bigger than themselves. And when you do that, you become dangerous as a team. You don't have to be the most talented team. You have to be the most connected team. And I think what he's going to do is make them mentally tough. He'll make them physically tough.
I heard the man. You heard the man. He's a winner, and when you're a winner, it's only going to follow over, especially when you've been doing it your whole career. And the Chargers is the reason why I say is going to be one of those teams. You're really going to work seriously going to have to watch out for. Now, on to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals. Now I know y'all looking at me like, man, Cam, what the heck are you talking about? Didn't the Arizona Cardinals finish 4-13? Yes, they did finish 4-13, but make no mistake about it. A lot of those losses came from quarterback play. They didn't have Kyler Murray. They didn't have Kyler Murray for a large part of the duration of last year. And when he came back, let me tell you something. I know it's not a lot, but he did win 3 out of their only 4 wins last season. When he came back, he absolutely looked like the Kyler Murray of old. He looked fun to watch. Like we want to see more of him. And it found many of us asking and questioning ourselves, man, what this could have looked like if he would have played a full season. And one thing I will say about Jonathan Gannon, and I know he didn't have the first season as his former co-worker, and Shane Steichen, rookie head coach last year for the Indianapolis Colts, who dang near led the Indianapolis Colts to a playoff appearance due to a Gardner Minshew, 4th down, just dropped past. But I'm not gonna talk about that. And who would have known how far they could have went. But and I'm talking about with Gardner Minshew at the helm. They didn't even have Anthony Richardson. So now he's coming back. So when I look at that, Shane Gannon, he does awfully get a lot of flack. He did get a lot of flack his first rookie year, and it didn't go into plans. Keep in mind, I believe this dude can flat out coach. And now when you look at the Arizona Cardinals now, and yes, they did, and yes, they did several losses, and they didn't have the best season. But when you look at what they added, I mean, first of all, yes, James O'Connor is going to be the running back for Arizona. Yes, he will be the running back still, but they did draft a rookie running back. I want to say Gabe Brentzy. I believe I'm saying his name right. They drafted Florida State. They drafted Florida State. Trey Benson. You know, they drafted Florida State Trey Benson. They drafted Florida State Trey Benson, who I believe is going to be a guy who can really contribute very fast, and I mean very fast for Arizona. I mean, he won't be backing up James O'Connor for too long. They drafted Marvin Harrison. We all I don't have to talk about him. We all know he's going to be a generational talent. And the last generational wide receiver who the Arizona Cardinals had before Marvin Harrison Jr. was Larry Fitzgerald. And you've seen what kind of career he turned out to have. So that's neither here or there. So, and then when you look at the addition that they add, especially particularly on the defensive side of the ball, it works well for Jonathan Gannon. He's a defensive-minded coach. You know, you brought in Justin Jones, defensive tackle out of Chicago. You brought in Sean Bunsen, cornerback out of Tennessee. You brought in Mac Wilson, linebacker out of New England. And then not only that, you drafted who I like, who many people probably don't know. You drafted Darius Robinson, a stud edge rusher in this draft out of Missouri. So when I look at all this, for Arizona, it's a lot. It's a lot of work in the play. When I was talking about the NFC West, you have to compete with Seattle. Still, they have a new coach undergoing there. No longer of the Pete Carroll, Legion of Boom era is officially over. You know, no more of that. And then the Los Angeles Rams, you know, with Matthew Stafford at being 35 years old and with his concern of injuries and his injury history, we don't know what's going to happen with Matthew Stafford. We never know what's going to happen with the Rams right now until, you know, Sean McVay inevitably decides to rebuild at the quarterback position and go younger. But right now you have to respect the prime of Matthew Stafford. So that leaves room for a young Arizona team who has a young Kyler Murray, who I don't believe has even entered his prime yet, who's coming off an injury. You've seen how good he looked. You have these pieces around him. You signed Zay Flowers, who's a nice complementary piece to Marvin Harrison Jr. You add those guys on the defensive end. The Cardinals can be one of those sneaky teams, and I believe they can be one of those teams that can honestly find themselves in the hunt for most of the season. And what do we say about teams in the hunt? Teams in the hunt are just this close to getting in the playoffs. So like I said, those are some of my predictions right there for this upcoming season. But nevertheless, this is going to be a good one. Nevertheless, this is going to be an entertaining one. And I believe, like I said, and some other teams too. I definitely want to say too. It's going to leave some room for intrigue. Definitely, this upcoming season can also be shockers. The Washington Commanders with their new head coach of Dan Quinn, and I hate to see Ron Rivera go. I respect him. But not only as a head coach, but I respect him as a man and as a veteran and how he represents our U.S. military. But I do believe the game has passed him up from his Carolina Panther days, and now you bring in Dan Quinn, who's done great work for that defense in Dallas. I think his time has been passed. It was time to go, especially after a horrific 48-32, if you ask me, 48-16 loss that they withstanded in the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love and company. You know, I do believe the Washington Commanders with Jalen McDaniels, and you have with Jalen McDaniels and with Terry McLaurin and Joshua Dobson and all those guys up right there on that team and that weaponry. I believe this is a team that don't be surprised. You know, Dallas and Philly won't be the only teams, you know, competing in the NFC East for too much longer with that group. And don't forget about the rise. And don't forget about the rise of the New York Giants when they soon get some stability at the quarterback position. You know, they're going to be a team that's going to be, especially with the Malik Neighbors draft acquisition. You know, get him a quarterback. If it's not Daniel Jones, you know, he could be in for some good right there for that franchise as well. You know, I like like I said about the New York Jets, you know, I seen something about them being at a 9.5 win team.
I mean, you're banking on the health of Aaron coming back.
Team. And one thing about it, I will say, if Aaron Rodgers, assuming that we're getting the Aaron Rodgers that we last seen, the year before his last year in Green Bay, the MVP was somewhat 85% of the MVP Aaron Rodgers, because he is 40 years old, y'all, coming off an Achilles tear. That's scary, honestly. I pray for Aaron Rodgers. See, because he's going to be in for a long season. You know, the Jets is going to be one of those teams, because you look at what they what it took to get him. And I don't like Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator, but God dog it, I will say this, though. I do think he's a good. I do think he could be a really good. I do think he could be a really good coach with a Hall of Fame quarterback right there and covering his behind. I do think that, because he's not going to be. He's not going to be calling the plays. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be his show. It's going to be how It's going to be how he does things there. So I'm going to be looking forward and very interested to see how that pairing works out. And like I said, I can go on and on. It's going to be a lot of interesting teams. On the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, a team that's always been guaranteed. You know, even though they always been getting continuously in the wild card round, with Mike Tomlin, they've never had a losing record, and they've always found a way to get into the playoffs. Does that change this year? How could you, when you, on paper at least, have better quarterbacks or complete upgrades than what you had in the past with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and Joshua Dobbs, with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields now in town? So you would assume they should still make the playoffs again. But y'all, it's just getting so tough in the AFC. The AFC is starting to get really tough. And when I'm looking at these early predictions right now, obviously I have the Chiefs coming out the AFC right now. These early predictions don't mean anything. I'm going to be as when the season starts, I'm going to be making videos as each week goes upon on which teams are creeping up, which teams I believe could really be scared, because of course you can't count the Dolphins out. Hopefully Tua learns how to play in some crucial, not so warm weather, so he can learn how to play in some tough environment. The Dolphins can be scary, and in the NFC, still. The 49ers, to me, right now, I still say they're the best team. I mean, how could you not? I still say they're the best team. They're still a team that, like I said, you have to, you have to respect. Not only because they have a wizardry at the head coach position, they also have a whole bunch of talent on that defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to keep an eye on what's going to be going on with Brandon Ayuk. And as far as Dallas, like I said, we all know the Dallas cycle. We all know the Dallas cycle. Just talk about them in the regular season, going to beat up on some bad teams. Fans going to get to lose. We them boys, it's our year, and then choke in the playoffs and then start a whole new season. We know how this goes. But like I said, they're getting Trayvon Diggs back. We're going to see how Dak Prescott does, and which I believe is going to be the last year we see him in a Cowboys uniform, and CeeDee Lamb. Is he going to get his money? Michael Parsons, he needs to get his money. They have to pay people. Those three guys have not been paid yet, at least by the time of this video is uploaded. Something could change, and if it doesn't, I'll be making a video on it. But yeah, I just want to get into that stuff real quick and just give y'all some power rankings of some of these teams and what I believe are some teams I believe is going to be on the horizon, and teams who I believe who was already on the horizon, who I believe can finally mount the Chiefs and get over the mountaintop. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Make sure y'all leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and let me know what y'all want to see in the description. And also don't forget to let me know which teams do y'all think could be Super Bowl contenders in local conferences. Let me know in the comment section down below.